Welcome to the channel English Epics. My best friend Bill Jackson and I went to a golf tournament near Bloomsburg. We participated in a fundraiser for the basketball team of his alma mater. There we met two of his old fraternity buddies, and together we played 18 holes, finishing 3 strokes under par. That was enough to secure third place in the third-tier tournament. I never really understood the scoring system at these tournaments, but I knew enough to realize that we had done well among the mediocre players. It felt like being the third smartest student in the dumbest class at school, except this time, we got a few packs of golf balls as a reward for our efforts. Bill and I were sipping a couple of beers before heading home when we struck up a conversation with two guys from Harrisburg. We talked about important topics like baseball and football, then moved on to discussing our professions. Both Bill and I were surprised to learn that one of the guys, Jack Andrews, was an executive director at Wegmans. Our wives worked for the company as well, but at the Scranton branch, whereas Jack was based in Mechanicsburg. "You're both from northeastern Pennsylvania, Scranton, right?" Jack asked. "A few weeks ago, I was at a company meeting in Syracuse and ran into this blonde bombshell from the Scranton branch. She was built like a brick outhouse." Bill looked at me and smiled. We both immediately realized that he must have come across Bill's wife, Gwen, and that she had made quite an impression on him. But that was nothing new. Every man who had ever seen her had the same reaction. Gwen was stunning. Bill turned to Jack, and I was almost certain he was about to mention that Jack must be talking about his wife before he said anything inappropriate about Gwen. But it was already too late. She could suck the chrome off a trailer hitch. Jack smirked. Her breasts were really big and sensitive. "I probably spent an entire hour just having sex with that adulteress. I can't wait for our fall meeting in Harrisburg. It'll be 3 whole days, so I'll get to have fun with her for 2 nights instead of just the one I had last time." I was afraid Bill was about to smash this bastard's head with a beer bottle, so I placed a hand on his shoulder. I couldn't blame him for wanting to, but as his friend, my concern was keeping him out of jail. I felt Bill relax slightly. "You're talking about a real adulteress, Jack. You wouldn't happen to remember this little adulteress's name, would you?" Bill asked quietly. "Remember her name? Hell, we all had to wear those stupid name tags all day. I remember her name very well because she stuck her name tag right on her blouse, just above her left breast," Jack continued. "I spent plenty of time staring at her badge during the meetings. If I hadn't sat next to her, I probably would have slept through most of the day as usual. I go to these meetings for the chance to have fun and hook up with some random adulteress. That's the real reason I attend. Well, that and because management insists I be there to keep my job." "Time to hit the road, Bill," I quickly urged my friend, hoping to get the hell out of there before things got any worse, if that was even possible. "Do either of you know Gwen Adams?" Jack asked, crushing any hope I had of making a smooth exit. "That was her name. If you ever met her, you'd never forget her. And if you ever get the chance to sleep with that adulteress, make sure she takes care of you. She's absolutely incredible." 2 minutes later, we were sitting in Bill's Toyota Corolla, heading east. For the first few minutes, I kept a close eye on his driving, worried we might get into an accident. Bill seemed to be handling the car well, though he was driving a bit fast. Then again, if I were in his shoes, I probably would have floored it, desperate to put as much distance as possible between us and Jack before he came to his senses. There was blood on Bill's knuckles, though not as much as I would have expected, considering the impact they had on Jack's mouth. It was a miracle he hadn't broken his hand or shredded his fingers on that bastard's teeth. I suddenly remembered spotting a tooth lying on the bar counter when I pulled Jack off the sprawled-out body of that dumb idiot. I couldn't help but admire Bill's composure as I replayed the bar fight in my mind. He had calmly told Jack that he must have confused that blonde with his own mother. He even called Jack a brain-dead bastard and said he was lying about Gwen. Naturally, Jack felt the need to defend his honor and punch Bill square in the jaw. In his younger years, this had been one of Bill's favorite pastimes. I'd seen it happen more than once. He would practically be drooling until some guy threw the first punch. Then Bill would grin and proceed to rearrange the guy's face. Bill was the youngest of 4 brothers and had grown up fighting nonstop. He had an iron jaw and a devastating right uppercut, something Jack had just learned the hard way. It was good to see that Bill was still in shape, even after nearly 20 years of marriage. It had only taken him one punch to end the entire fight. I could tell Bill wasn't in the mood to talk, so I kept my mouth shut and watched the scenery roll by, turning the situation over in my mind. We had introduced ourselves as Tom Casey and Bill Coons. Jack had even made the usual joke about Bill's last name, and we had politely laughed as if we'd never heard it before. Gwen had been working at Wegmans for a year when she met Bill. When they got married, she told him she would keep her maiden name for work. She explained that it would be easier than changing all her information in the system, and besides, she wouldn't have to listen to a bunch of tasteless jokes about her last name and anatomy. At work, she was still known as Gwen Adams. Gwen was a walking wet dream. She and Bill had been married for 19 years, had 2 kids, and she still turned heads wherever she went. She was blonde, long-legged, and, as Jack had already mentioned, well-endowed. Bill and I had been friends since high school. That fact, and my wife's detailed explanations of how she would rip my balls off with her bare hands if I ever strayed from the righteous path, made it impossible for me to do anything but admire Gwen. I never thought she would cheat on Bill. Apparently, it had been just as much of a shock to him. Gwen and Bill introduced me to my future wife, Teresa, at their wedding. At the time, Teresa had just started working at Wegmans alongside Gwen. From the very beginning, we seemed to hit it off well. The following year, Teresa and I got married. Now we had a son in 8th grade and a daughter in her sophomore year of high school. Teresa was beautiful and had a great figure, but Gwen was the kind of woman men outright lusted after. I tried to put myself in Bill's shoes to imagine what he was feeling. Somehow, I thought that understanding his pain might help lighten his burden, even just a little. He had to be suffering, and I had no idea how to respond. I liked both Gwen and Bill, and I wanted them to be happy in their marriage, partly for selfish reasons. We did a lot of things together, and over the years, Gwen and Teresa had grown closer. I was perfectly happy with the status quo and didn't want it to change. They were my favorite friends, and I had always wished them the best. This was a damn mess that I knew I would be furious if Teresa ever betrayed me. I had never given in to the temptations that occasionally crossed my path. Teresa often reminded me how miserable my life would become if I ever slipped up, but I never thought any woman was worth the risk of losing Teresa. I was certain she felt the same way. We didn't have wild, animalistic sex every night, but we still enjoyed making love. Bill was simply paying the price for having a highly desirable wife. I knew men constantly hit on Gwen. I had seen it happen more times than I could count. Sometimes even when she was standing right next to Bill. Maybe it was a good thing that Teresa's legs weren't as long as Gwen's, that her chest wasn't as big, and that her face wasn't as youthful or striking. Teresa was my wife, the mother of our 2 children, and she looked just right to me. I would never have to endure the kind of pain Bill was feeling now as he drove us home. Home. Shit. What was he going to do when he got home? Should I head straight to my place and let him and Gwen deal with everything on their own? What if he was angry enough to hit her? Should I stay to keep some semblance of order? Did I even want to hear what would be said? Did I want to witness the possible collapse of their marriage? Was it really that bad? I realized I needed to figure out what was going on in Bill's head. I had to talk to him. "Bill, talk to me, buddy," I started. "What's on your mind? How are you planning to handle things with Gwen when you get home? You know I can't let you do to her what you did to that arsehole at the golf club. I need to know you can keep your emotions in check." "I couldn't hit Gwen, even if she carved my heart out with a garden tool," Bill said grimly, "though it feels like that's exactly what she did. I've thought it over, and I've decided to pack some things and stay at a motel for a few days. I don't know if I can get through this, Tom. This is big. I never imagined she could do something like this. To me, to us. I've never cheated on her, and until today, I would have bet my life that she would never cheat on me. God, it hurts so damn much. Do you think you could ever forgive her, Bill? I have no doubt she loves you to death. Leaving will crush her, Bill, even if she did it. You know how guys are always hitting on her. That's just one of the problems that come with marrying the most beautiful woman in this damn county. Then how do you handle it, Tom? How did you keep Teresa happy and faithful? How do you keep those damn hound dogs away from her? She's stunningly beautiful, and you two seem to be doing fine, at least for now," Bill added. "Well, you have to admit, Teresa doesn't attract men the way Gwen does," I pointed out. "She's definitely gorgeous, but she's not a walking wet dream like your wife. Guys don't throw themselves at her as often as they do at Gwen. What the hell are you talking about? Bill asked, looking at me as if I had two heads. Teresa is one hell of a knockout. Any sane man would give his left hand just to be in bed with her. Her ass is a work of art, and her breasts are absolutely perfect. She's got an incredible smile, and she practically radiates sex appeal. Next to Teresa, even Gwen looks pretty plain. Are you out of your mind? Gwen looks like a goddess. She's always so athletic, tanned except for her unusually large breasts. Gwen is a true beauty, I said, almost in reverence. Somehow I suddenly found myself picturing that moment of pleasure Jack had described. Looking down and seeing Gwen, that was a fantasy I had carried with me for nearly 20 years, though I had never once thought it could actually happen. I suddenly realized I hated that bastard Jack almost as much as Bill did. Maybe that's why I accidentally stepped on his crotch while pulling Bill off his sprawled-out body. You must be blind or something, Tom. Teresa is incredible in every way. Gwen looks pretty good, I'll give you that. But you hit the damn jackpot when you landed Teresa, Bill insisted. And besides, she's not a damn cheater. That's a huge plus in my book. We fell silent again, each of us processing what we had just admitted to each other. Bill thought Teresa was more beautiful than Gwen. I struggled with that thought. Gwen was stunningly gorgeous. I had never imagined Bill felt that way about my wife. Then again, I had never admitted to him just how hot I thought Gwen was either. We were still quiet as Bill turned into his neighborhood. The tension between us was thick, and we both showed all the signs of it. Naturally, Bill looked worse than I did, but my stomach was tied in knots too. I was dreading the next few minutes. As we pulled into his driveway, we immediately noticed several cars. Mine was still there from early that morning when I had left with Bill. Behind it sat a dark maroon 1967 Pontiac Le Mans with a black convertible top, and behind that was my wife's car. What the hell, Bill? Doesn't that look like the 3-speed Pontiac you used to have? Whose damn beauty is this? I asked, stepping out of the passenger seat before Bill had even come to a full stop. It's probably some bastard who's been sleeping with Gwen while I'm not home, Bill muttered angrily, glaring at the convertible. At that moment, the front door burst open, and Gwen and Teresa came running down the driveway, their smiles as wide as the Pontiac's grill. Seeing Gwen brought me right back to the situation at hand. She had no idea what kind of trouble she was about to walk into. As that thought crossed my mind, my attention shifted to Teresa, who was happily making her way toward me. I took a good look at her, studying her features and figure. She really did look incredible. Maybe Bill was right. She was in her early 40s, had given me 2 children, and yet standing there now, I realized just how breathtaking she truly was. How had I ever thought Gwen was more attractive? As Teresa closed the distance between us, I had the sudden urge to pull her into the back seat of that damn convertible and put it to its intended use. I pulled Teresa into my arms as Gwen greeted Bill. "Happy birthday, Bill," Gwen chirped, wrapping her arms around his neck. "I've been looking for this car for your birthday, sweetheart. I found it in Monticello a few weeks ago." When Gwen noticed Bill's sour expression and stiff posture, she added, "You don't seem very happy about it, Bill. You found it a few weeks ago." "How many weeks ago, Gwen? Was it before or after that Friday and Saturday you spent in Syracuse for your damn job?" Bill asked. "Why are you acting like this, Bill?" Gwen asked. "It was that same weekend. I need to confess something. I wasn't in Syracuse. I went to Monticello to check out this car." Bill turned and looked at me. I couldn't help him. I was just as confused as he was. What the hell had that bastard Jack been talking about if Gwen wasn't even in Syracuse that weekend? None of this made any sense, but he had described Gwen perfectly. "I had to mislead you so you wouldn't get suspicious, Bill," Gwen laughed. "I booked a ticket for that trip, but I never planned to go. I asked Teresa to take my place. I told her to tell Tom she was visiting her sister in Allentown that weekend. I figured she could use my hotel room, eat and drink on Wegmans Dine. All she had to do was wear my name badge and pretend to be Gwen Adams. It wasn't a big deal. I just asked a friend to help me pull off a special surprise for my wonderful husband on his birthday." You were never in Syracuse." Bill shouted, lifting Gwen off the ground and hugging her tightly. God, I love you, Gwen. You're the best wife in the world. So that wasn't you. It was Teresa. Holy shit. It felt like I had been hit in the gut with a sledgehammer. Sweat broke out across my skin, and my entire body started shaking. I let go of Teresa and stumbled toward my car. Tears streamed down my face. Tom! Teresa called after me. What's wrong? Why are you leaving? What the hell is going on? I ignored her. Just as I reached for my car door, my stomach decided to reject my dinner with a vengeance. I dropped to my knees and let it spill all over Bill's neatly manicured lawn. Teresa was by my side in an instant, rubbing my shoulders and asking what was wrong. I think I can fill you in, Teresa, Bill said gently. It all came out. At the golf tournament today, we ran into that bastard, Jack Andrews. He told us he works at Wegmans, that he had attended a company meeting in Syracuse, and that he had wild sex with a blonde bimbo wearing a name badge that said Gwen Adams. I left that son of a bitch lying on the floor next to the bar. Tom even kicked him in the groin as he pulled me away from the scumbag to keep me from killing him. The whole way home, we thought it was Gwen who had slept with that miserable bastard, but it turns out that wasn't the case. It was you, Teresa. And I have to say, I'm disappointed in you, but Tom is absolutely devastated. Now you know the whole story, and I don't envy you one bit, Bill concluded. You thought that guy was talking about me, Bill. You thought I was cheating on you. I should take that damn car back and get my money. How could you even think I'd do something like that? Have I ever given you a reason to believe I was unfaithful? Gwen demanded loudly. Don't try to play me for a fool, Bill shot back. You lied to me. You told me you were at that company meeting in Syracuse, and then this guy said he slept with a beautiful blonde wearing a name badge with your name on it. We all know that you and Teresa are by far the most gorgeous women at Wegmans, or anywhere else for that matter, and you're both blondes. I also know for a fact that you're a wildcat in bed, so why the hell wouldn't I believe what he told us? Wow. You're right, Bill. Now I see why you jumped to the wrong conclusion. Do you really think Teresa and I look amazing? And that I'm a wildcat? Gwen asked. I suppose I owe you an apology for my little innocent lie and for being surprised at how quickly you assumed the worst. At that moment, I was struggling to keep my breakfast down. A wave of dry heaving hit me, and it felt even more painful than before. I could hear Teresa sobbing as she rubbed my shoulders. The part of my mind that was still functioning kept replaying how blind I had been. Teresa was stunning, and she had been an incredible wife. I should have paid more attention to what she was doing and who she was doing it with. I should have kicked that bastard in the groin even harder. And then it hit me, while I had tried to put myself in Bill's shoes when he thought his wife was cheating on him, I had never truly understood his pain. Not until now. I don't know how to tell you the rest of the story, Gwen hesitated. So I think I'll let Teresa finish it. Tom, listen to me, sweetheart. I'm guilty of lying to you, and I sincerely apologize for that, but I would never ever cheat on you. I love you with all my heart, Teresa sobbed. Gwen didn't get to finish her story. I didn't go to Syracuse in her place. I turned down her offer. Instead, I went with her to Monticello to pick up Bill's car. Gwen convinced a new employee, Jessica Walters, to take her spot. She had just transferred from Buffalo after a terrible divorce. She's blonde, but I don't think she's as sexy as Gwen or me. My stomach immediately settled. I spat out any remaining particles from my mouth and slowly got to my feet. Teresa stood beside me, wringing her hands and trying to smile through her tears. I had never seen her look so beautiful or so desirable. My breathing gradually slowed to normal as I wiped my eyes and mouth with the back of my hand. I bought you that brand new set of Nike golf clubs you've been eyeing all year, Tom. I was going to wait until your birthday next week to give them to you, but I figured I'd try to earn at least a little forgiveness right now. They're in the trunk of my car. Do you want to see them, sweetheart? Teresa asked nervously. They can wait a few minutes, Teresa, I replied calmly. I must have had some bad seafood for dinner, but I'm feeling better now. I never thought for a second that bastard Jack was talking about you. I know you too well to believe that. I have no idea why the hell Bill even suggested it. My stomach's giving me some trouble, and now everyone's jumping to conclusions. Seems like there's just too much going on for my poor stomach to handle. Yeah, right, Bill laughed. You didn't have fish for dinner, you idiot. It was prime rib, and I ate the exact same thing as you. There was nothing wrong with your food. Number I asked. Didn't I stand right next to you when you were about to puke your guts out at that rest stop? We had something inside us that didn't sit well. I'd guess that the thought of staying married to a cheater is what didn't sit well with either of you. Gwen laughed. Are you guys hungry now that your stomachs are cleared out? Not me. It's almost dark, and I'm taking my new car for a ride. Topless, so to speak. Bill smirked. Anyone want to join me? Gladly. Gwen laughed, effortlessly stepping over the door and plopping into the passenger seat as Bill slid behind the wheel. If you two aren't coming with us, we'll see you later. But you'll regret missing the first ride, Gwen promised. I stood beside Teresa, watching as Bill shifted gears, searching for reverse, then slowly released the clutch. Before Bill could even move the car, Gwen's shirt landed at our feet. Wow, look at Gwen, Teresa gasped. I am looking, and I have to admit, Bill was right about both things. You really do have a better chest than Gwen, I confessed as Teresa wrapped her arms around my neck and whispered in my ear. The back seat is empty, and we were invited. Thank you for listening until the end. See you in the next episode of English Epics. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Goodbye.